Well, his president. Put them in a folder so to where you could see the full name. December 4th. I usually delete them as soon as it's done anyway, so. Oh, there's the one that's open. 420. There's one missing. You did see me copy. Oh, that scared me. Oh, that's fine. We want Dr. Hensley's first. Share. Okay. And then just keep that folder open. Yeah, it's open. I just minimized it. Okay, we should go back on the fly. Oh, I told it to go back. Well, okay. Which presentation is it?
There we go. Now you can hear me. To consult with the college district's attorneys on matters deemed privileged by Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct or Government Code 551.071, to deliberate regarding real property under 551.072, a prospective gift under 551.073, certain personnel matters under 551.074, security devices or security audits under 551.076, and economic development negotiations under 551.087. If the board meets in closed session, we will announce the particular section under which we will be doing so prior to initiating the closed portion of the meeting. So now we're going to go ahead and have the invocation and pledge to the American and Texas flags. I'm going to welcome students Emily Samastria and Alyssa Pauler to the podium.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. After the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right, can we bow our heads? Dear Jesus, thank you for this day and thank you for allowing everyone to be gathered here today for this meeting. I pray over everyone here and that they have a great meeting and a safe ride home. And all of this in your name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, ladies, for helping us out. These are two of our fine students, and Alyssa is a great Brenham High School student and a great athlete from Brenham High School. So thank you guys for being here. Okay, on to public comment. It does not appear that anyone has signed up for public comment, so we will move on to a very special part of our program, the reading of the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Hensley, fellow trustees, it's my honor this morning to read a resolution for a very special individual, Trustee Boehm. We're really excited about this, and hold on to your hats, Trustee Boehm. This is quite a resolution here. I think I'm up to 12,000 words. I'm joking. Whereas Teddy Boehm faithfully represented Precinct 3 as a member of the Blinn College District Board of Trustees between October 2013 and October 2021. And whereas Trustee Boehm attended Blinn College before earning her bachelor's degree from the University of Texas and her master's degree from Texas A&M University. And whereas Trustee Boehm is a member of the Blinn College Alumni and Friends Association and served as the chair of the Blinn College Foundation Board of Directors. And whereas Trustee Boehm has served on the boards of Trinity Medical Center, the Lower Colorado River Authority, the Brenham Economic Development Foundation, and the Washington County Women's Leadership Forum. And whereas Trustee Boehm has volunteered to support the Texas Academy of Family Physicians Foundation, Washington Burleson County Medical Auxiliary, Washington County Goodfellows, Washington County Historical Commission, German Texas Heritage Society, Heritage Society of Washington County, Daughters of the Republic of Texas, the Burton Cotton Gin Museum, Independence Historical Society, Brenham Fortnightly Club, University of Texas Ex-Students Association, Washington County Council, and Washington County Genealogical Society. And whereas Trustee Boehm was appointed to the Blinn College District of Trustees in 2013 and re-elected in 2017. And whereas Trustee Boehm served one term as board secretary from May 2019 until May 2021. And whereas Trustee Boehm's tenure on the Board of Trustees, the Blinn College District has established itself as a statewide co-enrollment leader with the development of Texas A&M Engineering at Blinn and the Texas A&M Engineering Academy at Blinn Brenham. And whereas under Trustee Boehm's leadership, the Blinn College District has regularly ranked among the state and national community college leaders in academic transfer, including its current status as the community college with the highest academic transfer rate in the state of Texas. And whereas under Trustee Boehm's leadership, the college strengthens its financial position. And whereas as a member of the Board of Trustees, Trustee Boehm authorized Blinn to accept the Texas A&M University System's invitation to join the Rellis Academic Alliance and to open a new Blinn campus location at Rellis. And whereas as a member of the Board of Trustees, Trustee Boehm authorized the modernization and development of the Brenham campus, including construction of the Doyle Coatney Center, the Cruzy Center, Mill Creek Hall, the Ann Gardner Livestock Annex, the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Innovation Building, and the forthcoming student housing complex on the Brenham campus. And whereas, as a member of the Board of Trustees, Trustee Boehm authorized renovations and upgrades to several Brenham campus facilities, including Leroy Dreyer Field, the Old Main Building, the W.L. Moody Junior Library, Spencer Field Block, and the Student Center Dining Hall. And whereas, as a member of the Board of Trustees, Trustee Boehm authorized the modernization and development of the Bryan campus, including construction of the forthcoming administration building. And whereas, as a member of the Board of Trustees, Trustee Boehm authorized upgrades to the Central Administrative Services buildings at the Tejas Center, the Bryan campus cast stone replacement project, and the campus beautification project that included landscaping and courtyard upgrades. And whereas, as a member of the Board of Trustees, Trustee Boehm authorized the development of the Rellis campus, including construction of the Walter C. Schwartz Building, the Agricultural and Workforce Education Complex, and the forthcoming administration building. And whereas, as a member of the Board of Trustees, Trustee Boehm approved a variety of new programs, including a new certificate in cybersecurity and the new Associate Applied Sciences degrees in carpentry, drone technology, facility maintenance, HVAC, simulation and game programming, and water purification. And whereas under Trustee Boehm's guidance, the Blinn College launched new esports, men and women's soccer, men and women's golf teams. And whereas Trustee Boehm leaves a legacy of selfless service to the Blinn College District, its students, and the communities it serves. And therefore, be it resolved that the Blinn College District of Trustees expresses its sincere appreciation to Trustee Teddy Boehm and acknowledges her exemplary government acumen and supportive oversight between 2013 and 2021.
Thank you, Layden. Wow. There's a lot there. I think that a few of our Board of Trustees would like to say a few words too, but as board chair, I'm going to go first. Teddy, I've had the privilege of knowing your family my entire life because Trey was just a class above me, and I had an opportunity to go to school with him and play sports with him, and that kind of gave me a window to the Boehm family that a lot of folks didn't have. And just so much respect for what you have done with your family and the success of all your kids. All the things that you did for Blinn College while you were raising that great family that you've got. I know you met Henry here at Blinn. Henry's father was a longtime dean here at Blinn College. Just so much runs through Blinn College with your family, and the service that you gave to this board, we really appreciate it. And I just want to congratulate you on your service and thank you for all the Boehm family has done for Blinn. And I would go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add on to your comments about Teddy and Dr. Boehm, and also for Mr. Boehm, Dean Boehm. I have to tell you that I got Lori to look this up, and the Boehm family has had a leadership role either in administration or on this board for more than 80 years. That's pretty amazing. And so we owe a debt of gratitude to Teddy and of course to the late Dean Boehm and Dr. Boehm. So I'd also want to comment about that Teddy is enlisting all these things that was in the resolution, and it brings to mind a couple of things that my recollections of Teddy is that she, and I think kind of broke the glass ceiling for women in our community, in our small town in several ways. She took a leadership role in many of these organizations and probably served as the first woman chair of many of these groups. I know that she was active and chaired the library board. I think she was the first woman chairman of the LCRA board. She was active in the Heritage Society and the Washington on the Brazos. She may have been the first woman chair of the Washington on the Brazos State Park Association board. And so she has done a great deal. I would also make this observation as a personal note, that having to also have the opportunity to be friends with Henry and Teddy for my time in Brenham, that she may be one of the most competitive people that you'd ever want to hook up with. I mean, she's one of those guys that she never lost a game. She just run out of time. You know, whether she was playing volleyball, dominoes, tennis, or pitching washers, she was ready to go to the wall. Whatever it took to win, she was going to be there. So she's been a great influence on her family, as you have not acknowledged. So she's been and she's been a leadership in her leadership for this college, but also in this community for almost a half a century. And for that, we need to all be thankful. So thank you.
Trustee Bohart.
Everything that has happened in Brenham and Washington County that has been good, Teddy's been a part of. And if there were things that weren't good at the time, Teddy stepped up and made them good. Over the years, I've enjoyed sitting next to Teddy many of the times here in the board meetings, and we've had some good conversations at sidebars and everything else. Her entire family, all the way with Dean Boehm and Henry. Henry brought 3 of my kids into this world, and She always asks about them, how they're doing, so she never forgets anything. So I just want to say thank you for all of that.
Chairman, I
Trustee
would-
Bame, I just simply want to be brief and say thank you. And your husband was a dear, dear friend and helped contribute so much to what we did with young people in this community. And now I call you Lady Bame because truly you hold that grace and dignity. So thank you for all what you've done for Glen College.
Dennis?
So my family's only been in Brenham since 1967, not quite as long as Posers, but anyway, ever since then, the Bame family has been synonymous with Glenn. But not only that, it's just, such a gracious family. Like Douglas said, every time we talk to Teddy, she asks about your family, and I always appreciate that. And K&D, growing up with you, you're just a wonderful family and has done so much for this community and Glenn. I just thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, very good. Well, what we're going to do now is if you could please come up for a picture. Did you have something first?
We need to pass that.
Oh, do we need to pass that resolution?
We need to adopt that resolution.
All right, well, I am looking for a motion to adopt the resolution as it was written.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Mosier,
Second.
second by trustee Wells. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. If you don't mind coming up, we've got a presentation to make for you. Thank you. We've got to have the photo op. We'll take the picture first.
You want us to front of the chair?
Actually, where you are. And one, two, three. And one, two, three. Okay.
Hey, can we, one more picture with the other big flag?
One.
Okay, Teddy, we've got a couple of plaques here for you in the resolution, and at the back of the room, we've got a vase of flowers that's kind of heavy, and those are going with you. Okay, so we just wanted to make sure that you knew that, y'all knew that, and we'll make sure we help you get it to your car. They are beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, is that better? Can you hear me now? Okay. Well, this is wonderful, and I didn't really expect all this, but I thank you very much Uh, You know, I had a great, great uncle who went to Blinn back in the 1800s. And back when it was a school for German Methodist ministers. And anyway, and then my mother also got her first degree here and then went on to get her bachelor's and master's. And that was in the 1940s, you know, when they passed the Gilbert-Aiken bill, and all of a sudden teachers had to have degrees. And so, and I started at Blinn as soon as I could, as soon as I graduated from Giddings High School. So, and I did meet my husband here, and so it was, you know, it's, and all of our 4 children went here, and several of our grandchildren have gone here too. And I'm so thankful for the great educations they have got and gotten on their start on their way. So thank you so much. This is truly an honor, and I'm happy to be here.
Mr. Chairman, while you're coming back, I want to make I forgot one thing that needs to be said. So, and I know Teddy would, you know, Teddy is a dyed-in-the-wool yellow dog Democrat, and she is going to be till the day she passes, I know. 'Cause like my wife, she has never left the party, and she's going to, she'll be there. So, yeah, I just wanted to be sure that we got that word in.
For mentioning that. Okay, thank you guys so much. We're gonna now move on to the report section of the meeting. And since Dr. Hensley's voice has left her, we're gonna let Leighton give that chancellor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fellow trustees, Mr. Mosier, this report is slightly shorter than the resolution, just so you know. Thank you, Chair Colcourse. Good morning. Trustees, want to give a little roundup of what's been going on here at the college as of late. On Wednesday, December 1st, the Blinn College District and the Texas A&M University College of Education and Human Development hosted an event at the Walter C. Schwartz Building on the Rellis campus to announce a new co-enrollment partnership called the Brazos Valley Teach Learning Community. This partnership allows students to begin their pathway to a teaching career with Blinn College dual credit classes. Students can then earn their associate's degree with Blinn and seamlessly begin pursuing their bachelor's degree with Texas A&M University. At this time, I'd like to share a brief video from that ceremony. Trustees, it was a wonderful ceremony and continuing partnership with Texas A&M to strengthen those ties as always. Trustees, I'd also like to share an update regarding the construction projects taking place across the district. At Prairie Lee Hall, site work operations are approximately 85% complete, and the overall project is approximately 70% complete. Major activities underway include cabinetry and flooring installation in Building A and drywall installation in Building B. The project remains on schedule for substantial completion in June, with final completion scheduled for August. At Leroy Dryer Field, the facility has been vacated to allow for construction activities, and the baseball coaches' offices and storage have been temporarily located in the classroom building. A construction fence has been erected around the construction area, and a portion of Schwartz Way beside Dryer Field has been blocked to allow for construction activity. Excavation of the new locker room is in progress, and foundation work is beginning. The project is scheduled for completion at the end of September 2022. At the Old Main Building, items with long lead times such as lighting and HVAC equipment have been ordered. Demolition of the building's current HVAC equipment and the rough-in work for electrical and data cabling are in progress. Furniture selection and pricing to replace storm-damaged furniture is nearing completion, and this project is scheduled for completion in March of 22. At the Rellis Campus Administration Building, installation of the permanent roof and exterior walls is nearing completion. Permanent electrical tie-in occurred earlier this month, and thermal tie-in is scheduled for late December. Contracts and purchase orders for the FF&E items approved at the November board meeting are in progress, and coordination meetings have begun with the audio-visual vendors. An item regarding furniture purchases is on today's agenda, and this facility is scheduled to open for the fall 22 semester. At the Bryan campus, initial design meetings regarding the administration building have been scheduled, and a request for proposals receiving construction manager risk services will be advertised this month. We anticipate an agenda item requesting authorization to negotiate and execute a contract for construction manager risk services will be brought before the board in February. And an item is on today's agenda requesting authorization to demolish the existing structures on the recently acquired property. And this project is scheduled for completion in November of 2023. Chair Colcourse, that is the conclusion. At this time, I'll return the chair to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Layden. We are now going to move to item 6B, presentation of financial statement package for the period ended November 30th, 2021. Mr. Cervantes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Hensley. I know you're dying in anticipation of this financial report, and it's all good. So this report is taking us through the month of November, which means third month of the fiscal year, 25% of the way through. I have added a couple of slides, and I'll try to go through these as quickly as I can because I know time is short. Our revenue this year through November is almost $38 million. Our expenses are 33.3, which leaves us a net of almost $4.5 million. Thank you. I will call your attention to the other category where we normally put our HERF funds. There's about $400,000 in there. And when we compare that to last year at this time for last year's report, we had about $5.5 million. And I mentioned to you, we're going to see these distortions throughout. I do know that we already are planning for the month of December, which will be when we come back in January, $6.5 million will be added on to this year's revenue. So because they were $5.5 million last year that we don't have there, you can see the revenue's down about $6 million. Expenditures are up almost $3 million. If you look at the line item right above that, the debt service is the biggest part of that for the 2019 and 2020 bond issuances. The net increase in fund balance is obviously less than what we had last year, almost $9 million. These are distorted. The far right, you can see where the HERF funding has not been added to this year. So it looks like tuition is up as a percentage, or it's down, even though the percentage is up. Auxiliaries actually is up. So a lot of distortions. And we're going to show you a slide that hopefully will try to give you a different picture to show that we're out of line, but we're okay. Tuition and fees revenue, we budgeted $69.2 million. To date, we're at almost $24 million, about 34%. Tuition is down, as I said, 440,000. Out of district is the largest part. The good news is in district is a little bit up, so that's good. Fees are also down. The general fees are down. It's the largest part, though, is the lab course fees. We're not having as many students taking the distance ed courses and not being charged that fee. Workforce, as we mentioned last time, there's some anomalies in there associated with timing. We also know there's some large grants that are going to come somewhere down the pike, totaling about $750,000. Housing and food service, $11.1 million is what we budgeted, and we're $3.1 million at 28% of the way, 28% of that total. Housing is the only one that's down here. Food service is up, bookstores up. That's a timing issue. Parking, you see, is substantially up as students have returned to campus. Total expenses, the $2.8 million up compared to last year. Again, the line item right above that accounts for the bulk of it, the 2.1. But E&G is also up as travel has commenced, as we return consumables, electricity, all that stuff is adding up. I'm showing you this real quick. It's very busy, but it shows all the categories of that $2.9 million. All of those on the right are up. The only one that actually is down is the salaries and wages. We're still about $500,000 or so less from what we were last year. This is the new slide that we've introduced, and Mr. Moser, the accountant on the board, brought this to our attention. And what we have tried to do here is to show a percentage of the dollars that come in. So what this is saying is through the month of November, all the revenue that we have accumulated, what percentage of that expense as a percentage of the total revenue? And we're doing this for a reason, because it's going to be hard to benchmark. You're not going to be able to benchmark 21. There's too many anomalies. 20 has a little bit in there too, but at the end of the year, and 22 is going to have some. So we're really looking at, we've got to go all the way back to 19 to find some sort of consistency. And that's what we're looking at. And these percentages will vary a little bit every month because the revenue will go up. In some cases, the expenses will go up. Debt will not. We won't have another debt payment until April. This is the other half of that picture. The far right, Mr. Moser, you can see these high percentages right now because the revenue is distorted through the month of November. When we get down to the end of the fiscal year, and this is what you were referring to at the last meeting, in 2021 as an example, that percentage was 6.64%. Debt service was 6.64%. The ceiling that you were referring to is we try to keep it below 7. The previous year in 20, it was 5%. In 2019, it was 5.5%. So we've always, Blinn has historically been below that 7%. Doesn't mean you can't go above that, but that's where Blinn has been historically. So we kind of look at that as we try to set our targets. Still going to keep this one in there. The far right shows the auxiliary expenses are higher. That's because food service. We're having more kids that are eating, so we're ordering more food. Student cash refunds in November, $6.9 million is what we received. Her funding is just a wash on the far left. But we did receive student payments of $6.5 million, but we issued refunds of 2.3, and then we were able to get some money back from the Department of Education, $2.6 million. Our other cash receipts in November totaled a little bit over $6 million. The state appropriations is the largest part of that, a little bit over $3 million. We paid ourselves back on the bonds for the construction activity, 1.7, small amount for HERF. And then the 846 or 824 is largely, a lot of that is the insurance. Use of cash in November is high. Our payroll is about the same, almost $6 million, but you can see the construction on the far left is the bigger part of it. So we had $6.8 million that we received from students and another $6 million from other services. We used cash $11.3 million, which meant for the month of November, we spent $1.6 million more than we brought in, and that we were able to take that from our bank. Just want to show you real quick, this is another slide that we had. Behind the scenes of what we were trying to do is trying to look at, we have $125 million that's unrestricted, and some of it is committed. Some of it's committed to our reserves. That's the first section that you'll see there. The other part is the two different projects or two different campus projects that we have. So we kind of set those aside. It brings us down ultimately to $10.4 million that we have available for new projects. That's the work behind the scenes that gives you this. It shows you on the very bottom, you see that $10.4 million that we have available through the month of November for new projects. And the one farther to your right is the amount that the board has already approved, that $54.5 million. We have spent and received and spent all the student awards that we received the federal government, $31.3 million. We have not spent institutional funding or the strengthening yet. I mentioned we have $6.5 million that we know we will cut into the next December report. We also know the board has approved roughly $2 million for equipment for Old Main. So about half of what we have left, and what we have left is on the bottom right, the $16 million is going to go away pretty quickly. So we're going to end up about $8 million as we go into the spring. And I don't know if we'll have some lost revenue. We'll hear that in a later report. Stand for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone have any thoughts or questions for Mr. Cervantes? Doesn't look like it. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to item 6C, institutional enrollment report for the fall 2021 semester. And Dr. Becky McBride is going to give that report.
Good morning, Chancellor, Mr. Chair, and the board. Hope everyone is doing well today. I have the pleasure of speaking to you briefly this morning about our fall enrollment numbers. On the first slide here, you can see in red on the very bottom, just wanted to note that the fourth 4-week semester is the only term not included in the numbers that we're speaking about this morning. And that also reflects here for a visual and seeing all the terms that have already been completed for the fall term that we're talking about in our certified numbers today. We have the 16-week number, the first 4-week sessions, the first, second, and third, the 12-week and the 2 8-week sessions. In the pie chart here is a visual of how many courses are offered, the class sections and the percentages. So you can see our largest section, the 48% is the 16-week courses. And when we had met last time about numbers, we were waiting for the 25% on the upper left, the second 8-week numbers. On this slide, you will see the certified fall headcount comparison from 2017 all the way to fall of 21. And please note on the bottom right, you can see that our total certified number for the fall was 17,077 students. On this slide is a total of our headcount, credit hours, and contact hours for all of the terms except for the fourth 4 weeks for this current semester. And you can see all the numbers there on the right-hand column. On the next 2 slides, I included some information from TAC, the Texas Association of Community Colleges, and these are preliminary numbers I wanted to note. These aren't the final numbers for the institutions. As you look at this slide and the following slide, I calculated there are 18 colleges out of the 45 that reported that have a decline in their enrollment higher than Blinn. And in the central section where Blinn is considered, there are 7 colleges in the central area of Texas. We are number 3 out of 7 in terms of our enrollment looking over the past 2 fall semesters. On the next slide, this is the second half of the colleges that have reported their numbers. And again, these are preliminary. I'm just waiting for the updates from TAC once we have those. Takeaways from today's presentation. Overall, our final enrollment headcount is down 4.89% compared to last fall, and we are trending upward for our spring enrollment. Are there any questions or comments, please?
Couple of comments. Certainly not a good report, which we expected. So, but I guess a couple of real concerning things for me is when you look at that 17,077 number, that's the lowest. If I look back at my records, the lowest we've been since 2009. So whatever that is, 13 years, I guess, 12 years. But as I've said before, the Bryan numbers are what I'm really concerned about. So when you put the Bryan and the Rellis campus numbers together, you're looking at just a little bit short of 9,000, 8,908, I believe. And I started keeping records in 2002, and that's the lowest it's been since 2002. So my question here is, what are we doing? What are some initiatives or plans? Are we going out increasing recruiters or outreach, or what are we doing to try to turn this thing around?
Sure. I know one thing that didn't help Blinn and other colleges in the past 18 months is we weren't able to physically go places. We weren't able to participate in TACRO in person or go to high schools in person and make those connections with students, and they would know who Blinn is and want to come join us. I'm feeling very confident with that because this fall we were able to go back again into the schools, and the schools invite us, we go. We were on the TACRO circuit again this past fall, making those connections with students, having students sign up as soon as they saw us. In addition to that, we are working very closely now with school districts within our area. Brenham is one of them, and I know we're going to move forward with some other districts in having our personnel in the school, working with those students, again, making those relationships so people know who we are and they're comfortable coming to us. We think that is something that's much needed, and we're very excited to begin these conversations. I'm actually meeting with Brenham ISD again this afternoon. And so we're going to continue to do that, and starting with the 8th grade, get students involved with Blinn College. And we're doing some things now, but on a much larger scale.
Do you have enough people and resources? I mean, is that something that we need to look at and to help in this capacity? Or?
And that's a good question. I've spoken to the chancellor about that very recently as well. I'm very excited. If you look, not that I expect you to look at our employment opportunities at the college, but we were recently approved to hire another advisor on the Brenham campus, which will help us with our special groups or special populations, including athletics, which is something that we're very excited to increase our staff to do that. We've also hired an additional person in dual credit to help, and this is the person that we want to house in the high school to make those contacts with the students. So we actually, and I appreciate that question, and we have been talking about those things.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've got a quick question. Just give us kind of an example of when you're working with a a local school district, a high school. What are y'all doing? What are we doing? I mean, are we working with the academic advisement department in the high school? And then how do they then talk to kids there about going to Blinn?
That's a very good question. And we had 2 of the high school counselors join us last week in a meeting. We've been meeting weekly at this point, trying to get things ready to start some initiatives in the spring. The counselors, starting with the 8th grade, meet with the students and have those conversations about dual credit and where to go. And they get a lot of questions. Students are not aware of all the transferability from Blinn to our partners. So that's something we've talked about. We want to get more than just small groups. We want to bring all the 8th graders here in May, like 400 kids. And then every semester work with sophomores, all the different grade levels for different kinds of conversations and have special preview days just for those students. But what I think is excellent is our partners are working and meeting individually, the counselors are, with these young people and helping them to make their decisions. And we want to be part of that conversation.
Okay. Yeah, my experience with young people is that oftentimes the folks that really are helping making the decisions, parents at home, and they're the ones that really need to know that things transfer and that would cost them less money and that type of thing. So I guess a question that I would have is how are we helping or seeing that communications like this get back to the home? Because students may hear it at the school and it may never get back to the people that are actually making those decisions.
Yes, I have 2 thoughts on that. One thing we started with the chancellor's permission, we did mailings out to many districts in our area about Blinn to the high school seniors, juniors and seniors, just letting them know. And every piece has a different perspective. One talks about athletics, one talks about transferability, one talks about special groups, just different areas. Or you could come to us in the summer and take a course, all those different options. I'm also, my understanding from meeting with local ISDs is that they do meet with the parents too. And that's why it's important that our conversations with them is so clear and transparent, because they're the ones that are also meeting with the families. So we're trying to get it from the hard copy sense and also the in-person sense.
Jim, if I may follow up on one of your questions, when you're meeting with these parents, trying to get these students to consider coming to Blinn College or at least furthering their education, workforce, or whatever else, what, if anything, is being communicated to them about financing alternatives? Because I know a lot of the student population is not necessarily from an economic perspective may be able to just consider it without assistance. So is there anything that's added to those conversations that may help?
I agree with you as well. I think a lot of it is that there's not an awareness of our cost versus a 4-year institution. And that's part of the conversation we're having with the counselors to have with the parents is help us in explaining that this is very reasonable to come to Blinn. I agree with you.
Okay. And the second question, Jim, if I may, you mentioned in here, one of your bullet points was Blinn is trending upward in spring enrollment. Can you add a quantitative factor to that as to how much that is? And when you're saying it's trending upward in spring enrollment, is that from just the past spring, or is it from 2 springs ago, or just trying to get a little better information on what trending up would equate to maybe in students or something of that nature?
Yes, sir. Exact numbers I don't have memorized. I don't want to be misleading in that term. But when I was comparing and looking at numbers from last spring to this spring, especially dates before we would have a drop when payments were due, we actually had the lowest amount of drops in 15 years last week. We dropped under 1,000 students, which for us was an amazing feat for the spring, and we were very excited in student services. I believe all of our efforts in reaching students sooner, getting current students registered and good to go before Thanksgiving is a new focus we have. So that way they're not waiting till last minute in January. So our drop was very small compared to, as I said, a 15-year trend, and that was amazing news for us. We were very excited about that.
Trustee Wells.
Thank you, Dr. McBride. Just a couple observations. One is that thank you for the cyber presence. I know that your team has done a great job of trying to engage people on that level. international students and out of district students, how we're approaching that.
I know, and thank you for the question as well. I know that we actually have the highest number of students coming from other countries, and that we are recruiting more, if that makes any sense. And it's something, and we can have a conversation too, of course, and share some more information with specifics, but I'm thrilled to say the numbers are going up. And we can get you exact numbers as well, but they're increasing. And I think that's good for the students here too, to meet folks from other countries as well. Good experience.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McBride. Obviously, thank you for the questions from the board. Enrollment is very important, obviously, to this college because we don't have the benefit of living off of property tax revenue like many do. So, we'll continue to stay engaged in that regard, and any resources I think that need to be given to a department that helps to recruit new students. That's something that we need to make sure that we keep our ears to the ground on. So thank you so much for your report. Okay, we're going to move on to 6D, training completion report as required by Texas Education Code 61.084. I think Mr. Schubert is going to give that report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Hensley, fellow trustees, as you know, Texas law requires certain training of governing board members of public institutions of higher education. As you also know, every year we have to certify that our members have made those training requirements. And I'm happy to say that all of our trustees have. Of course, Trustee Benke is reported in October, so she's still going through her processes now, but all trustees, besides Trustee Benke, which is appointed, have done and completed all their certifications, so we can certify that the training has been complete. Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions, guys? Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to the consent items section of the meeting. All items listed in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Trustees and will be enacted upon one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a trustee so requests, in which event the item will be removed from consent and considered in discussion and possible action. Trustees receive agenda materials in advance of the meeting to prepare for the business to be conducted. I would look for a motion to consent item.
I'd like to make a motion that the consent
Trustee Wells,
be accepted in its entirety.
thank you. Second by Trustee Benke. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Now, moving on to item 8 on the agenda, we'll start with item 8A, presentation of annual comprehensive financial report for the period ended August 31st, 2021. I think Mr. Cervantes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Legg was not able to join us physically, but he is online, and hopefully he can hear us and we can hear him. He will make a presentation of the report that you have in front of you, same report that we had presented to the Budget Audit Investment Finance. Dane?
Can everybody hear me? Okay, it's my pleasure to present your 2021 annual financial report for your approval. I hope everybody kept the summary sheets that I handed out at the audit committee meeting. Did y'all keep those? Okay.
Did them, Dane?
The district received an unmodified or clean opinion from us as it relates to the presentation of this full AFR. Real quickly, I'm going to hit the highlights since we went into it in greater detail at the audit committee meeting. If you look at page 1 of the handout or page 25 of the AFR, your statement of net position for this fiscal year, your assets exceeded your liabilities by 132.6 million for this fiscal year. Right there at the bottom, item number C. This is a $22.8 million or a 21% increase from the previous year. Most of your activity is on the income statement side. So if you flip the page or go to page 27 of the AFR, we'll look at revenues and expenses. Your total operating revenues, item A, 71.8 million, is actually down 4.9 million or 6.4% from last year. Major decreases here are obviously tuition and auxiliary due to the decrease in enrollment. Then when you go down to item B, your operating expenses, for the most part, your expenses went down due to the pandemic, but you do have some other expenses related to the COVID money. And then when you look at item number 4, operation and maintenance of plant, at 19.2 million is up about 5 million over last year. The majority of this being repairs due to the winter storm. Then item C is your net non-operating revenues, and this is where our increase in net position comes. Overall, it's up about almost 20 million over last year, and it's all in item number 5 on your handout. Federal revenue is not operating. Your Pell Grants did go down by 2.9 million due to the enrollment decrease, but your COVID money increased 22.3 million over last year. After the donation of property at 2.2 million, item number 10, that brings us to item D, your net increase in net position of 22.8 million for this fiscal year. Any questions on the financial side of the audit? Okay, moving on to the compliance side. If you flip the page in the handout or turn to page 102 in the AFR, the district received an unmodified opinion or clean opinion on both the internal controls as it relates to the financial statements and the internal controls as it relates to the federal and state programs required to be tested this year. Item number 7 identifies those major programs that are required to be tested. On the federal side of the house, it's your financial aid cluster as usual. And then of course, the ones below that are all of the COVID CFDA numbers. And I might mention to the board that the COVID money will continue to be a major program in the next fiscal years, regardless of amount, because the federal government has declared them as a high-risk program. Then if you flip the page, all of this information goes into the data collection form electronically with the federal government. And as a result, you see there in item 10 and 11, you do qualify as a low-risk auditee for the federal side and the state side, which will be beneficial in getting new grant money. Any question on compliance or the audits in general? If not, that concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Dane. So I am looking for a motion. The Board of Trustees receive, discuss, and accept the annual comprehensive financial report for the period ending August 31st, 2021 as presented.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If I may, before, I will be more than happy to make that recommend approval. I would like to, for the benefit of the group, at our audit meeting, which we had, for the first time, we had 3 additional trustees. So there were a total of 6 trustees who participated in that meeting. And I will tell you, maybe you don't know that there weren't many questions asked here, but we had quite a few questions that were asked at that particular time. And so I want to thank Dane, and I also want to thank the staff of Blinn College who has to assist Dane and his group in the preparation of the annual financial report, because it is no easy undertaking by all of them. So I applaud them for doing that. I just want to assure the public that there were a lot of eyes that looked on the financial report for this year. So with that said, I will recommend that we accept the annual comprehensive financial report for the period ending August 31, 2021.
Thank you. Got a motion from trustee Bohart, looking for a second.
I'll second that.
Trustee Mosier, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Carries. Thank you so much, Dane. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
on this.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 8B, authorization for the administration to negotiate and execute contracts for the purchase of furniture, fixtures, and equipment for the Relis Administration Building on the Glen Relis campus. Mr. Cervantes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For this agenda item and the next one, Mr. Feldhake will make the presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman Colclough, Dr. Hensley, members of the board. Thank you for having me here this morning. I'm here to present you with agenda item 8B, which is a request for authorization that would allow administration to negotiate and execute contracts with SKG, McCoy Rockford, and J. Tyler for the purchase of furniture, fixtures, and equipment, the furniture aspect, for the Relis Administration Building on the Glen Relis campus. Before I go further, I do want to make a statement, and I appreciate Vice Chancellor Schubert presenting information on all the projects. We do continue to deal with supply chain issues. We work with all of our vendors, our contractors, and our consultants to work through those issues. But we continue to adjust as those supply chain issues come up. It's a very fluid environment right now. So we have worked with these vendors. At the June 15th, 2021 board meeting, the board authorized administration to seek proposals for the furniture, fixtures, and equipment at the Relis Administration Building. Using the board policy CF Legal, we received proposals from these vendors. We reviewed those proposals, and based on those proposals, administration recommends that the board authorize the administration to negotiate and execute contracts with SKG for $85,000, McCoy Rockford for $885,000, and J. Tyler for $665,000 for the FF&E furniture items for the Relis Administration Building. And to remind us of the project budget on this, the overall project budget is $32.25 million, with soft costs being $6.5 million. Of those soft costs, 4.35 are for the FF&E items. We requested some last month. This request now is going to bring that total up to about 3.7 million that we've requested of that 4.35. And then the remainder of that is 2.15 for the professional fees. The costs for these FF&E items are under the budget for FF&E. And to remind us, the funds for this are available from the 2020 series bond funds and unrestricted cash. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
You mentioned that, we are having supply chain issues. Any of issues that are going to be so severe as to potentially delay the project at this point, or do you know?
Nothing that I see that's delaying it. It's just there's a continual, every day we get updates. This manufacturer's having a problem getting this particular item. We may have to shift course a little bit, but nothing to the extent that is going to delay the project. No.
Great. Okay. Looking for a motion from the board that the board authorize the administration to negotiate and execute a contract with SKG, McCoy Rockford, and J. Tyler for the purchase of furniture, fixtures, and equipment for the Relis Administration Building on the Glen Relis campus. Second. Second by trustee Wells. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 8C, authorization for the administration to negotiate and execute a contract for the demolition of existing structures on the recently acquired property located on the Glen Bryan campus. Mr. Cervantes.
Thank you again. I'm here to present you with agenda item 8C. This authorization would allow administration to negotiate and execute a contract with SciTech Omni Services for the demolition of the existing structures at 2602, 2604, and 2608 East Villa Maria Road, these recently acquired properties on the Glen Bryan campus. The demolition of these structures is in relation to the new Bryan Administration Building. I have a brief presentation just to kind of update us on these properties. So you can see in this image, these are the three structures. I'm going to try and bring my cursor over. So we have Villa Maria Road running north and south on the page. This is Nash Street. This is on the very north edge of campus. I've got a map coming up here shortly that's going to help us put this in relationship. There are 4 parcels of land that you'll see. These structures outlined in red and hatched in are the 3 structures that we propose to demolish. In relation to the Bryan campus, this blue hatched area is the Bryan campus. This is about the north half. This is our remote parking lot that we have, the Red River entrance here. These are the properties that we purchased last year. There are 4 parcels, 2 structures. The vacant parcel that used to have, I believe it was a snow cone shop on it that was relocated before we purchased it. And then the larger parcel with the larger structure on it. Put this in relationship to the master plan, bringing in one of the slides from our master plan, you can see the 3 structures here. And then, of course, it's necessary so that we can locate our administration building in that area. Of course, we need to get those demolished so that we can begin doing some surveying and some field investigation as we continue with the design. So board policy CF Legal allows the use of pre-approved procurement lists through the interlocal contracts with for the state for certain purchases valued above $50,000. Using this process on November 22nd, the College District received a proposal from SciTech Omni Services for the demolition of these existing structures. The Blinn College District Facilities Planning and Construction Department reviewed that proposal, and based on the proposal, the administration recommends that the board authorize administration to negotiate and execute a contract with SciTech Omni Services for $130,000 in total. That's for all 3 structures, for the demolition of the existing structures at 2602, 2604, and 2608 Villa Maria Road on the Glen Bryan campus. Funds for this project were included in the overall project budget, that $30.95 million for the Bryan Administration Building. Those funds were included. So funds for this project are available from unrestricted cash. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
When do you anticipate demolition would begin? pending approval?
If approved, I spoke with the demolition contractor. He would be available to start right after the first of the year, so around January 5th timeframe. We do have a few stored items that we want to get moved out of there. It's what we've been using to store some of the furniture for Old Main. We've got a process set up to get that relocated and put into condition storage. So pending approval this morning, we would start that process as well.
Okay. Looking for a motion from the board for this particular project.
So moved.
Okay. Trustee Mosier moves that the board authorize the administration to negotiate and execute a contract with SciTech Omni Services LLC for the demolition of existing structures on the recently acquired property located on the Glen Bryan campus. Looking for a second. Trustee Benke. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Apparently so. Okay, now comes the executive session. We don't have an executive session. Okay, we will move past no executive session today. Looks like we are to number 10, adjournment. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Before we adjourn though, I think, where is the holiday party? It's going to be in the student center. So everyone is welcome to come over to the Glen holiday party. We're going to have a good time. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Okay. Trustee Krausen makes that motion. Second. Trustee Wells All in favor, please say aye. Thank you so much. We are adjourned. It is 11:08 a.m.